All right, joining us now, great pleasure, Lara Trump, former RNC co-chair and host of the new show, My View with Lara Trump. It premieres this Saturday, 9 p.m. Eastern on Fox News. Lara, it's great to have you.
Thank you.
Pleasure. I'm going to bump in. Here's some sound from the interview last night between the president and Elon Musk. You probably saw it. Take a listen.
He's an amazing person. He's also a caring person. And he attracts a young, very smart type of person. I call them high IQ individuals. These guys are smart, and they love the country.
All right, so I want to ask you, as former successful campaign manager, RNC co-chair, this is the new Republican Party, all right? Mm-hmm. Young, successful, young. I mean, the president won the youth vote, did he not? This is new for Republicans. The last guy was Reagan back then, and I even was there for then, but I'm not young anymore. This is the new GOP. And I think Musk, in some sense, attracts this kind of support, and I want to get your thoughts on it.
I think that's 100% accurate. Look, we saw great change in the voting blocks this election. We saw the base of the Republican Party expand in a way, to your point, I don't think we've seen since the days of Reagan. And it's because people are so happy, I think, to have someone, first of all, who brings common sense to the table, who actually addresses their issues. If you look at that youth vote you mentioned, the #1 issue for young voters was the economy. Yep. Well, you had Kamala Harris out there not really giving any explanation in terms of how she was going to fix it. And Donald Trump, of course, had a plan. And we know how the economy was when he was there before. But with Elon Musk, I think you're right. I think there are people who traditionally maybe would never have even been involved in politics or likely leaned left who are now looking at Donald Trump. And you have people like Mark Zuckerberg coming over. You have Jeff Bezos. These are all people that were there at the inauguration. Silicon Valley has now seemed to team up with Donald Trump as well, and I think that's a great thing. I
mean, yes, and of course, none of that was there 4 years ago or 8 years ago. It's a completely different game. Your father-in-law has changed the GOP, and I reckon he's going to keep it changed. Now, I just thought Elon Musk, who's not really a political guy, even though he's become a very political figure, taking some heat. But Elon Musk is important to this story. It's important to this coalition. It's important to attracting the kinds of people that you've just mentioned.
Yeah, well, and not only that, but people who are working on behalf of the country right now are those people because of Elon Musk, the best and the brightest. The team he has at Doge, which, look, I think we can all be honest and say that our country could not exist as we had been going with the debt, with the amount of money that we're spending on these wasteful causes and things that don't even apply to Americans. We can't go on like that. So we had to address this. We had to cut out the fat and audit our federal government. That is the beauty of what's going on right now. These people who are on Team Doge are able to do that, and we should be so grateful to all of them. I'm grateful. I know the Democrats are in hysterics about it, but that traditionally tells you you're probably doing something right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's a sign of approval. They're breaking down doors. Even left-wing judge in Washington, D.C., Chutkin, okay, not a Trump friend, capitulated and said, okay, yes, they can go into the agencies. That's a very important victory. Another federal judge said, no, the student loan cancellations of Joe Biden, all 500 billion of them, are not permissible. This stuff, everything's changing all of a sudden. Everything's going the president's way.
Yeah, and I think there's been, to talk about it all as one encompassing idea, it's really been a culture shift that I feel like we've seen in this country. And, I've said it to my father-in-law for many years now. I don't know that this culture shift would have been possible had he served 8 consecutive years as president. I think people needed the 4 years of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, their absolute lunacy, their ineptness at everything they did, and really the way they took this country in the wrong direction. And in comes Donald Trump. And it's a different Donald Trump. It's not the same Donald Trump we got in 2016. He's learned so much, and he is so good at this job of being president. He's executing it like he's the CEO of America, not just the president of the United States. But it's because of all that it feels different to every American. We're hopeful again. The young people are on board. It is cool now, Larry, to be a conservative and be a Republican.
Right. I think you're absolutely right. And I think every time he talks about promises made, promises kept, and every time he keeps doing stuff, I mean, he's very energetic, okay? Now, that's, constitutional people have said that's what Alexander Hamilton wanted. The executive has to have energy. That's what he's doing. That attracts young people. They like that kind of thing.
And they love a Trump dance. They love the YMCA Trump dance. That's the thing. Whenever you are impacting culture, I think the way that he has, where, you go down the streets here in New York City and you see in storefront windows, there are mannequins doing the Trump dance, you know that something has shifted and something has changed. So it's all good. And I think the best part is we're reaping the benefits as the American people, and it's not a moment too soon. Our country is finally back. We're respected. We have pride, and it's all going to be great.
The Lara Trump Show. The Lara Trump Show. Tell us about it.
Yes, it's called My View with Lara Trump. It'll premiere this Saturday. I'll be on every Saturday at 9 p.m. And, the news cycle is so busy and so fast. I really wanted to take a moment to dive deeper in and get more personal with the people who are working alongside President Trump to make the great changes in our country. That's what you're going to see when you come there every Saturday at 9 p.m.
So there'll be a lot of people from the administration.
Yes.
And you'll dig deeper with them.
Yep. We'll do deep dives. We'll go behind the scenes. You'll get a view of things you've probably never seen. And it's my view.
You kept your word. I said to you months ago on this show, when you went to the RNC, you've got to make sure with Election Day, ground game, don't let them steal it. And you didn't. You kept your word. Promises
Sure
made,
did.
promises kept.
All the Trumps keep their word.
All right. I'll sign on to that. Lara Trump. Sure to tune in. My View with Lara Trump this Saturday starts 9 p.m. Eastern. Thanks, Lara, for coming on set.